starting our council procedures this evening. Today is June 19th at 6:02. Have a couple things we're going to do first before we get into the business of the business. I'd like to welcome and introduce Eric Stiles, our newest member to council, and he's going to get sworn in right now with Judge McKinney.
You have your son?
Certainly.
All right, would you raise your right hand? I, Eric Stiles,
I, Eric Stiles,
do solemnly and sincerely promise
do solemnly and sincerely promise
and swear or affirm
and swear or affirm
that I will conform to
that I will conform to
and uphold
and uphold
the Constitution
the Constitution
of both the United States of America
of both the United States of America
and the state of Ohio,
and the state of Ohio,
and will support
and will support
the Charter
the Charter
and all ordinance and resolutions
and all ordinances and resolutions
of the city of New Franklin, Ohio.
of the city of New Franklin, Ohio.
I will be loyal
I will be loyal
and with strict adherence
and with strict adherence
obey the duties
obey the duties
of my office
of my office
set forth by law
set forth by law
and the will of the citizens
and the will of the citizens
of the city of New Franklin, Ohio.
of the city of New Franklin, Ohio.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Oh, good. All right.
Well,
Yeah, well, that's good.
that's great.
It's just my son is out and put here, thinking sermons.
Fantastic. Now we can continue on with business. Now we have a full board. Kevin Powell's on vacation, so our next item today is our Citizen of the Month, and Ms. Jones is going to take care of that for us.
Thank you very much. Our citizen of New Franklin for the month is going to be Larry Hunter. And I promised Larry I would read a small blurb and tell you a little bit about him. And then I'm going to let him tell you. Because when you look at all these plaques, I brought them in. I can't get over all the things this gentleman has done. Isn't that nice? And you help me with this if I make any mistakes, you tell me, okay? Larry Hunter. Oh. Here, I'll just rub it out. Larry Hunter is the founder of the Portage Lakes Bassmasters, the Portage Lakes Purple Martin Association, and sits on the Portage Lakes Advisory Board, 30-year member. And he also is on the Ohio Bass Chapter Federation. He's been awarded the Summit Metro Parks Earth Hero Award, Portage Lakes Kiwanis Hickson Award, the Kiwanian of the Year 2014 to 2015, and is an Ohio Senior Citizen Hall of Famer 2009 inductee. After leaving the Air Force in 1964, he and his wife Judy, who really helps him with everything, moved here to go into business with his dad. His dad owned the company, but he started working for them. Then they started into another joint venture, which was HHI Holding, and then H&W Molding Company, which is Kerr/Friction Production, and they manufacture, which I thought was interesting, high-performance brake pads for racing cars. I did not realize that about you. He's always been very civic-minded, willing to participate, and his motto is, show your love to your community, and people always will support a good cause.
Thank you. Wow. She said I could have all the time I want. Everybody make yourselves comfortable. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, what I'd like to talk about is the history of the Purple Martin Club. and this is kind of a big deal. It started out at a Portage Lakes Advisory Council meeting, and well, let me go back further. Let's go back to 1950, okay? In the 1950s, the Turkey Foot East Shore Association used to hire a crop duster to spray for bugs along the east shore of Turkey Foot Lake. And one year, it's kind of funny, it's a shame that Al Bolus isn't here this evening, because what happened was the wind came out of the east, and so it blew all that spray over onto the west shore of Turkey Foot Lake, and we got a letter from the Pin Oak Point Association thanking us for killing all their mosquitoes. So anyway, but that's how bad it was, okay? And then in 1970, in the early 1970s, I was an assistant scoutmaster, and the scouts at that time had what was called the SOAR project. It stood for Save Our American Resources. Well, our project for our troop was to build Martin houses, and we convinced the East Shore Association to provide money for the wood. And so we built 5 of these state-approved purple Martin houses. Believe me, you do not want to build the state-approved purple Martin houses. These things are standing about that high, they weigh a lot, and there's no way to lower them, so you have to climb up a ladder, disassemble them 14 feet in the air, and it was a dangerous situation. Well, anyway, we did everything wrong. We put them underneath trees and backyards where we didn't know what purple martins required back in those days. So anyway, then we'll fast forward now to the Portage Lakes Advisory Council meeting, and the problem still exists. We still are plagued with mosquitoes and other bugs in the Portage Lakes. So one of the Portage Lakes Advisory Council members said, we ought to do something about the bugs. And I, like an idiot, said, put up purple martin houses. So that's what started this whole thing. The first year, in the year 2000, we had 1 nesting pair at my house. We fledged 5 babies, okay? But when I saw how much work it was to manage 1 house, keeping the sparrows out of them, lowering the houses once every week to see how babies are doing and so forth. Well, anyway, to do this on the scale of the size of the Portage Lakes, it would take a small army of people. So I formed the Portage Lakes Purple Martin Association, and that was in the year 2000. So we went from 5 baby martins in the year 2000 to, I think last year we fledged about 1,200 in the Portage Lakes. And it takes about 45 pounds of bugs a day, every day, to feed our resident population. So now when you think 45 pounds of bugs every day, and these are all the adult egg-laying bugs. So once they're eaten, then you don't get that whole next generation, then the next generation. So you're not inundated with bugs. And the interesting thing is years ago, there was a guy selling a spray, and he wanted to spray every street in Coventry Township, I think once or twice a week, okay? And Dave Boulder, okay, I don't know how many of you remember Dave, but anyway, he was a township trustee over there, and he said to the salesman, thank you for coming, sir, but I don't think we need you because we have purple martins. And and people tell me all the time how much better it is than it used to be. So these things save so much money here in the Portage Lakes. It's just unbelievable. Back when we had the West Nile virus, if you'd have gotten bit by one of those mosquitoes, it could have cost you about $250,000 or maybe even your life. So this is pretty important stuff. Now, the other thing that's important is that when people are covered with bugs, what do? They grab a can of Raid and they start spraying insecticides, okay? Now, if all that overspray ends up in the Portage Lakes. So we're not only getting rid of the bugs in a cost-effective way, but we are also keeping the water quality of the Portage Lakes up. So it's really important what we're doing. But anyway, in about 2004, we started our efforts to become the Purple Martin capital of Ohio. And anyway, we worked on that with all these state representatives for years. Then back in I think it was 2014, we had 2 state representatives in the Portage Lakes. And so those 2 state representatives got this bill through the House, and then we got it through the Senate, and then it was signed into law by Governor Casey, Southern Delaware. And but anyway, we are the Purple Martin capital of Ohio, and you've probably seen these signs around, everybody.
Yeah.
So we're really proud of this.
Good work, yeah.
Before we go on, I want to talk about Buckeye Martin Fest. That is on June the 30th, on 2024, from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock at State Mill Road. Now, this is a real big-time family event. So bring your children, grandchildren, relatives, whatever, because we let the kids hold the baby birds and carry them around. And even if we've had grandmothers that have never done this, I'm sure it was on their bucket list. But anyway, there's flyers about this back on the table, so help yourself with that. Now then, next thing I want to talk about is the Kiwanis Pirate Days. This started out in 2014, and at the time I was the president of the Friends of the Portage Lake State Park, and we were looking for a fundraising project. And my son had gone to Mosquito Reservoir, and they had somewhat of a Pirates Day there. And so we thought, well, he told me about it, and then I started, hey, this sounds like a possible money-making deal. And so anyway, the Friends of the Park sponsored the first Pirate Days, and then Friends of the Park kind of went by the wayside for one reason or another, and so the Kiwanis took over. And Kiwanis doesn't know how to do anything small. All of you that participate in Santa delivery, that's the big signature event that Kiwanis does. And but Kiwanis, what I probably should do is just get off Pirate Days for a second and list all of these different things that Kiwanis does. The Easter egg hunt on March the 30th, we had 500 kids at the Tudor House hunting Easter eggs. We stuffed over 5,000 eggs, putting candy in. The pancake breakfast on July the 13th it's just a fundraiser, but it's a fun thing. And then we participate in the Dragon Boat Festival on July the 20th. And then on July the 27th, we have our Pirate Days. And but Santa deliveries on, guess what, New Year, or Christmas Eve, 24th, every year. We've been doing this since 1951. Think of that. We've got a citation from the state of Ohio for one of the longest continuous volunteering organizations in the state. And but we pass out, I think it's like 3,500 Christmas presents to, I think we make 800 stops. And we do all this in 3 hours on Christmas Eve. So it's just part of the Portage Lakes tradition. It makes the Portage Lakes what the Portage Lakes is.
You make the Portage Lakes what the Portage Lakes is.
Yes.
Absolutely. You make the Portage Lakes what the Portage Lakes is right now. You are the person that is in, you make things happen. You've always made things happen.
Well, thank
And
you. It takes a lot of people.
Sure, but it takes somebody to get it started.
Yeah. I guess that's me to start it. Right? But anyway, Kiwanis, all these organizations in the Portage Lakes, make the Portage Lakes the Portage Lakes. You need people. They need volunteers to step up. And I know the Purple Martin Club, we need people to feed Purple Martins. We feed the birds every day, scrambled eggs. And Boy, when you've got 45 poles up, that takes a lot of manpower to maintain all this. Kiwanis with all their activities, they need people. So, you know, if you need to contact somebody, they will introduce you to all these people, be sure to contact me. My phone number is 330-644-1540, okay? And I will repeat that first. 330-644-1540. So if you know anybody who wants to volunteer for any of these groups, please have them call me, okay? And with that, I thank you so much. This has been quite a
One more
honor.
thing, Larry, I apologize, your picture was falling. You have to, you can't leave it, you do. All right. They're forcing you to do this.
Okay.
All right.
And we'll each expect to sign a copy, right, Paul? No.
No.
We're proud of
Just
you.
okay.
Okay. You did excellent.
City of New Franklin Citizen of the Month. This certificate recognizes Larry Hunter for his continuous efforts in civic engagement, which has made the City of New Franklin a better place to call home. Awarded this 19th day of June, 2024.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I'd like to say one thing. I accept this in behalf of all the people that have supported me over the years. Well, there's been a bunch of them.
Well, Jim said it
I'll
right.
bring your
It
products.
starts with you.
I will bring your stuff back to you later, okay? That way you don't have to worry about it.
Oh.
All right, with that, we'll start our committee meetings, and we have 4 first readings, included with a supplemental, and 5 second readings. And we'll start with our Community Development Committee, Mr. Schaefer.
We open up community development at 6:20. Resolution 24R46 is brought before the Community Development Committee. Resolution authorizing New Franklin to apply for an Ohio Department of Natural Resources Ohio Nature Work Grant for construction of playground swings at the New Franklin Sister Field Complex and declaring it an emergency. I'll let Paul talk a little bit about this, but I was at the meeting last night, at the Parks meeting. If I'm correct, this will get us all to close to about $9 grand short of what we actually need to. I think you said the funding for this probably would come in for later years, so this project would probably be for next year.
Yes. Yeah, and they've, the Nature Works, we've been successful with these in the past. They provided some of the purchase money for Sister Field. They provided, I think, about $50,000 for the pickleball and tennis courts. And so for quite a while, there's been a desire to put some playground equipment there with all the ball fields, and we've got soccer going on, and et cetera. So we've got a nice package, and the total cost of it is $37,995. And we're asking for a grant in that amount. That's the total amount. Our match would be 25%. That's $9,498.75. So the application, and it requires a resolution to go along with the application. We'll get the application in here. The deadline was June 1st, but they moved it back because the state budget hadn't been approved. But we'd like to get this in so I can get it filed before July 1st. And normally they won't make the awards until September or so. So if in fact we're fortunate enough to get the award, then we'd anticipate doing this in the spring. The funds are available budgeted through the parks already for this cost.
Any questions or comments? I guess I'd ask for waiving threes now. And with that, we'll close the community development committee at 6:22.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next resolution. Is not here. It's going to be resolution 24R77. This will be for the Finance Committee. Mr. Schaefer.
I'm going to open up the finance committee at 6:23. This is a resolution authorizing New Franklin to renew its membership of the Public Entities Pool of Ohio, PEP, and to enter into an agreement with Summit Insurance Agency to be the local representative, with Burnham and Flower of Ohio as sales and membership provider, with Sedgwick as the administrator, and with Parasol, Public Entity Risk Service of Ohio, as claims and risk control service provider for the purpose of providing liability insurance and property damage coverage for New Franklin and declaring an emergency. Now, we have Jim with us in the audience, so I'm going to ask him to stand up and introduce himself and give us a brief rundown.
Thank you, Barry. My name is Jim Zucchero with Summit Insurance Agency, and I represent the Public Entities Pool of Ohio, or PEP for short. I'm just passing out a brief outline of a couple things I want to talk about tonight. The first thing says, what is an intergovernmental pool? So back in the 80s, the insurance marketplace for businesses and residences, but in particular political subdivisions, was in disarray. It was difficult to insure police departments and park departments with swimming pools and things like that. So Ohio did what many states prior to it had done, and it passed legislation, enabling the formation of intergovernmental pools. So an intergovernmental pool is, I like to say, it's a self-insurance on a group basis. So insurance companies have underwriting departments and claims departments, loss control. So all of those individual functions that an insurance company has is farmed out to specialists that perform those sorts of functions. So PEP insures all your buildings and vehicles and equipments and specific liability exposures like public officials. Decisions that you make could cause a monetary loss. We've got specialized coverages for the fire department, police department. You'll see here that PEP's been in existence since 1987 and it's grown to be one of the largest pooling programs in Ohio. Its sister pool is called OTARMA, the Ohio Township Association Risk Management Authority, and it now has over 80% of the state's townships. So between OTARMA and PEP, and again, it's the same players, if you will, there's over 1,700 political subdivisions in this identical form of pooling. Interestingly, to me anyways, county commissioners endorse pooling, and that pooling program isn't the same folks that I'm involved with and that you're involved with PEP, but it's nearly, the structure is very, very similar. And then so PEP is endorsed by your association, the Ohio Municipal League, and also the OPRA, Ohio Parks and Rec Association, and the Association of Ohio Health Commissioners. Candidly, I'm not sure if there's any political subdivision association that does not endorse pooling for their members. I don't know that to be true, but I don't know of any that does not endorse pooling. So PEP is non-profit, tax exempt, and the profits, if you will, stay with the program. This year, I'm jumping around, guys. This year, there's a loyalty credit for $4,316 is the amount that you've saved because of that. There's a safety grant made available every year that New Franklin applies for and receives. PEP, let me back up a second. Devin mentioned he went to the PEP website and gathered a lot of information. There really is a lot of information about your program on the website. I don't know if anybody's interested in doing that, but I gave you my business card because if you have questions or want to learn more about it, I'm happy to meet with you or talk to you and get you what you want. But PEP has evolved through the years, coverages. There's really, I hate to say it, there's no coverage available that you don't have that you should have. I review it with Sue and Mayor every year. So I think you're really up to date. You have $5 million of liability protection for general liability, auto liability, again, police, fire department, EMS. There's coverage for cyber liability built into the program. It's worked real well, and I think the city's very happy with claims. That's kind of when the rubber hits the road. You have a claim, and how do we pay? Unlike insurance companies, you have more control over your claim in that you can choose an attorney, a specialist that can handle obviously the type of issues that cities face. If it's sort of thing where you don't want your own attorney, we certainly, have attorneys that we work with that now the city's comfortable with. I don't really have a lot other to say, unless you have questions.
I don't have a question, but Diane sent us each an email. I thought some of the things on it were excellent. Do you want to read them, Jim? It's just a couple of things you covered it. But when you read those are just nice, and she sent those to us. But read them off, and just to let the people know some of the things you do that we'd be interested in.
PEP provides free coverage for all newly purchased vehicles, new or used, until the renewal date. So this is renewing very soon. If you buy 3 new dump trucks and get rid of 1 dump truck, we're not going to charge you until next year. Fire vehicles are different. We insure that as property, and so we do make a charge at that period of time. Unlike insurance companies, we insure your fire equipment at what's called guaranteed replacement cost. So if we have $500,000 on a pumper, but it takes $800,000 to rebuild it, and by the way, fire vehicle inflation is out of sight, that's what you get. You're not limited to the amount that we base the premium on. She mentions in here about that loyalty credit and the grant. You are entitled to and receive loss control services by specialists. That's the sort of thing they do. There's hundreds of videos and DVDs that you have access to. I could keep going. That's pretty much the list she gave.
She did a nice job, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I've worked with Diane for several years.
Very nice lady.
Do you have any questions?
I would just add that, several years back, we kind of shopped around and we couldn't find anything close to the level of coverage, and the cost advantage and the loyalty credit. It's a big deal dealing with an entity that exclusively deals with municipalities. So we've been with PEP for, as you can see, a number of years. I'm trying to think how many? 10 years. 10 years. Yeah. And so this year's policy is through June 30th, 2025. So we're hopeful that we could get this approved tonight.
Yeah, total cost for this is $113,986 minus the loyalty credit. And just to point out, Mr. Potts just pointed out to me, I believe you said it was $4,316. The resolution we have has it as $4,136.21. So that's the number I'm going to go with. If
That's
it's higher than that, it's a bonus.
Good. That'll work. That's fine. That's fine.
So that brings our total cost down to $109,849.79. So it's as I said, the city's been here 10 years. It seems to be pretty cost effective. Have any other comments or concerns?
Another thing to point out is that as we all experience, insurance rates are going up tremendously. We're seeing with this new contract an increase of only 8.6%. The year before was 10%. The year before was 14% increase. So that's just another advantage of being with a group like this that has so many 600 members across the state of Ohio, able to help keep the costs in line. So,
That's great.
Yes, it is.
I guess I'll ask to waive the 3 on this. Then we will move into, thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you. I appreciate your support.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
I guess we'll move to resolution 24-R-48, which was brought to the Finance Committee. Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Summit County to share equal the expense of the National Environmental Policy Act NEPA report to be prepared by Arcadius US Inc. as required for the receipt of a $3 million community grant from the 2023 federal fiscal year appropriations and declaring an emergency. That's kind of a mouthful, but basically, if we don't do this, we don't get $3 million.
That's about it.
It's pretty much a no-brainer. So, I know we got it. Did anybody have any questions or comments on it? The cost on that is $87,168 divided by 2. So it puts us down in that 43 range. But that's a pretty good return for 43 grand, $3 million.
Yeah, when you get the federal money, there's a few more strings attached, and this is the environmental aspect of it. So the county's on board with us, and we just, you got it now because I just got the sanitary sewer had just gotten the final approval to share the cost with us on this. So that's why, but we want to obviously keep it moving because this is a piece that has to be in place before they'll release that funding. And as you know, the big things going on relative to sewer funding, so looks like the train's moving down the tracks. So we'd like to get this one passed too.
I'm gonna ask the over 3 unless there's any comments or concerns. With that, we will close the finance committee at 6:35.
Perfect. We'll move on to the Laws and Ordinance Committee, Mr. Vogel.
I'd like to open Laws and Ordinance Committee at 6:34 p.m. The Laws and Ordinances Committee was presented with an ordinance 24006, an ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend section 7.04, 7.05, 7.06, and 7.07 of the charter, and declaring that this ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage. Mr. Powell sponsored this ordinance, and it sort of levels the playing field a bit for board appointments and charter appointments. And so previously, we'll just the Parks and Recreation Board, it looked like the mayor appointed 3, and council appointed 2. They flipped it, 2 for the mayor, 3 for council. Planning and zoning, the mayor appointed 5 members. Now, the resolution is asking mayor shall appoint 2 and council will appoint 3. Then the Board of Zoning Appeals, the mayor was appointing 5 members, and under the current charter, and now the proposed charter, which will go in front of the electors, would be 2, and council shall appoint 3 members for the Board of Zoning Appeals. And, let me see if there's another one. Yes, for the Charter Commission, mayor shall appoint 3 members, and council shall appoint 4 members. I believe the mayor had all 7 prior. So it's, the person that sponsored is not here, but you can ask questions, or if anybody has any questions, I'm not sure I'm the one to be able to answer, but we can open it up.
Well, I have some comments about this. I don't understand the purpose of this, why we're doing this. This idea was presented to the Charter Review Commission, and they felt it wasn't necessary. Some of the thoughts, as I understand it, is that possibly one person has too much control over deciding who's going to be on these different boards. For whatever reason, feeling that council doesn't have any say in the matter of these. However, council approves any recommendations that the mayor may present to us. And if there's a concern that, and when I say the mayor, I mean the office of the mayor. I don't mean the individual person. And when I speak of council, I mean the organization of council. I don't mean us particularly, because we have to look down the road at other, other people being in these positions. So when the mayor presents names, it's up to council to, we again can approve or deny for whatever reason we may have. And in the past, it's kind of been, in my opinion, it's kind of been like a rubber stamp. The mayor would present names and council would say, okay, let's go with it. I think part of that was that council didn't want to go out and find these people. And, it's a tough job for the mayor to find people that are willing to serve on these boards, that are willing to take the time to do it. And the mayor, again, the mayor's position, not the mayor himself, but the mayor's position, that person only has a handful of people that they know. They may know a lot of people, but only really a handful of people. And that's what they're choosing from. Now, as council, we've always had in the past the ability to recommend people, et cetera, but we never really did. We never really, even with like the Parks Commission, I think from what I remembered in the past, we kind of like, and then the mayor would say, well, how about, okay, to make it easy for us. I feel like the problem is not who is recommending the people. I feel like that there's a lack of management on council's part of doing this. We've talked about in the past that we'd like to see the pool of people for these boards opened up by doing advertising and letting the community know, hey, these positions are open, these positions are available, and let people, apply for it. We had an open council seat. We had 16 people apply for that open council seat. We didn't just, look and say, look at our Rolodex and, find a name. We put it out there, and we had 16 great people apply for a position. And I think that we would see that also with our board when openings come available. And then as a group, we're able to determine, and make recommendations for it. I also, I'm concerned with the number of appointments that council would be in charge of, because I think it puts too much, it gives council too much power. When the mayor makes a recommendation, again, the office of the mayor makes a recommendation, council has the opportunity to say, wait a minute, no. But when council makes a recommendation, there's nobody to say, wait a minute. There's nobody to do that. It's council's appointment, and council approves what council says. So I think this puts in too much power in the hands of council. There's no check and balance on this. So I don't see the reason for this. The Charter Review Commission didn't see a need for it. I think I think the program as it stands is good. We may look in the future at looking to see what qualifications are. I know there's concern of making sure that we don't have close family members on boards and things like that, just to get rid of the appearance of whatever. And those are things we can look at in the future. But I just don't see why this is necessary. Questions for me on this?
No, but I have and I appreciate your opinion. I appreciate the mayor's office and what he has to go through, or she, whoever the mayor is in the future. I have a totally opposite opinion of Mr. Cotts. I believe that when you have 7 people or 8 people in this particular situation, picking members, because you have the mayor, you have the 7 council people, it opens the door to a wider variety of people. I think that would limit the number of people who have served. This last charter review, there were some people that had served 3 times. For example, Mr. Allman, we got some young blood. We're finding out what young people in the community are looking to be here for a while and see what they want the community to grow into. I think with 8 people here picking the people, have more of an option to get a variety of people. So I think it's a good idea that the council has a little bit more say, rather than just, no, I don't like this particular person for whatever reason. As far as the, whatever the council says, if I pick somebody and the rest of you don't like him or her, it's gonna be a no. So council has the, the power to say no to one individual. So I'm all for this. I think having a variety and having the 8 minds as opposed to one is always going to be better.
You know what, I listened to both of you, and I got the same thing from both of you, that you want us to look at people and do advertisement and actually get more involved with choosing these people. Am I wrong? Did I mishear that? That's what I heard from both of you.
I think you're right.
Jim, did I hear that? Then I think this might help us to get off our ducks and do it. If we need this kick, we need this kick.
Well, I don't
But I do
know that
think-
this is what we need, other than.
I'm not saying that it's wrong, though, we haven't done it in the past, you're saying, so we need something to change it. Evidently we do. But that's what I'm hearing the same thing from both of you.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think we need a resolution. I don't think we need this, a charter change. I don't think the charter needs to change for us to do that.
Well, I would hope not, but
And
we
the
haven't in the past.
and changing the charter wouldn't necessarily change the way things are happening. There's nothing in here that
Not
says
unless
that
we
we.
change.
Exactly. So we don't need a charter change to do it. And if we change the charter, it's not going to guarantee that the process is going to change. All it's changing is the numbers. But I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm
I
just.
think you are,
Sure.
that's okay.
Okay.
I think it makes a difference on where the responsibility falls
I think so too.
and when, because I came to many meetings prior to actually running for office. And when you have a responsibility and you're tasked with that task, I think everybody that sits up here or runs on a particular board or whatever that they volunteer to do, takes that task seriously. And so when you put that task on the back of 7 more additional people, you're actually gonna go out and do it. If council's not tasked with it, I don't see it being a problem for this particular council, because everybody I see is pretty engaged. I don't know who's gonna be sitting up here in 4 years. I don't know what they're gonna do. I want to make sure that those people are tasked with this responsibility to go out and find good people. And maybe go out and find some younger people, or some people who've never sat on the board, because I want somebody that's not looked at the charter ever to come in and say, yeah, this may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing. And you get a mixed group of people, and then they get to decide what goes on.
I think that maybe we've asked Paul to do a huge job. When you look at this, we did. And really, when you think about all the things you do, I get it.
A couple observations. I'll start with the last one. I get the idea of a fresh voice, but there's also some value for experience.
Amen.
When you take that charter, and I've seen the Charter Commission work since the inception of the charter. And so occasionally what will happen, and more than occasionally, you'll get to a section and they'll say, what about this? And then somebody at the table is able to say, yeah, we talked about that. We had input from the law director. Here was so there was, to me, I think there's some value of some people having been through that process before when they sit on that commission. The idea of better recruitment, we're open to that. It so happens we recruited for the Charter Commission and we didn't exclude anybody. Those were the only applications that we received, were the people that happened to be, that ended up on that Charter Commission. So it wasn't, but again, maybe we can try harder to get more people. Mr. Cott's point that the council ultimately has the final say on approval is important. That it's not just one person, it's not just the mayor's office who's picking these people. If somebody's, I agree that a more engaged process would be a good process. There's no reason you couldn't be interviews, and probably should be, especially if you have, 3 seats and you got 6 or 7 applicants. That, council should be involved in that, because ultimately, if the mayor is making that suggestion, you ought to know who those people are. probably the primary concern I have is this, and it relates to the checks and balances, balance of power. Two of these boards in particular, the planning and zoning and the BZA, when citizens come and make application, and I guess, SOAR would be a good example. It went through planning and zoning, and they had hearings, and planning and zoning made a recommendation. And now, city council has a hearing, and they get to make a decision. Well, when city council has appointed the majority of the planning and zoning commission, there could be an appearance in people's minds that this is a stacked deck. Okay? You guys appointed the majority of the people on that planning and zoning, and they recommended someone to, something to you. Are they really getting a fresh look? It's not so much impropriety as the appearance of impropriety. Are they comfortable that they're really going to get a fresh look? With the mayor making those appointments, you guys affirming those appointments, the mayor has no say in those planning and zoning and BZA issues. The council does. So it's more remote. The Charter Commission presents the same potential dilemma. I think the notion all along was that be an independent body, not a political body. But if council on their own, as you can see from the resolution from Mr. Powell, has the authority on their own to suggest the charter amendments. So you already have that authority, and if you're appointing the majority of the people that are on the on the commission, and then ultimately they make a recommendation, you guys have to approve it. I don't know. It just, again, I think there's a reason it was set up the way it was set up. I don't think the world comes to an end either way. I know we're dealing with honorable people, but I'm probably most concerned with the BZA and the planning and zoning aspect of it, where you have a majority. Council opposed the majority of the board, and then council decides whether or not to approve the recommendation that's coming from a board that essentially they appointed. So those are my thoughts on that. I don't know, Mr. Powell didn't talk to me about this. I don't know if, I don't know about the form on this, or, this is different from the other 5 resolutions that you have, the ones that came through the Charter Commission. And the form of all that went through our law director, and there's requirements relative to that form, because eventually this has to go, well, actually by August, this has to go to the Board of Elections. So I'm going to guess that this is accurate form-wise, but I talked to our law director, he wasn't consulted. I don't know if Mr. Powell did already.
That's what I think. I would love to, we only have one more meeting prior for the deadline. So I would love the sponsor to have a chance to defend, so I'm going to ask for more time on this.
Okay.
Give him a chance, but just know as a group, we'll either thumbs up or thumbs down it next, because after that, it dies. The other thing I would just say, I think part of it is, this isn't the end all be all if we pass it. That just gets it to the voters and let the voters decide. So, that's the only thing, but you made some very valid points, especially with the Historic Farms thing. I was able to remain clean, on that. And even though I still get accused of kickbacks and, all those good things, but, so that was enlightening to me. But is there any more? Do we want to do any more comments on this particular ordinance prior to?
I can say something. I think the notion behind this ordinance, not resolution, was the enhanced representation and diversity of the appointments for these committees and all that. And I know that the idea, what was the idea by the sponsor, is that by involving both the mayor's office and council, Ward 3 and Ward 1 are completely different. On the very bottom left of New Franklin, Jim Contz has most of Portage Lakes area. So if I were to recommend somebody for, let's say, the Board of Zoning Appeals, it'd probably be someone with very different interests than someone maybe from the Portage Lakes area. So what we're looking here is to more or less cause conflict in these committees, differing point of views. If we pull out our Rolodex, mostly we like people that think the same way as us. And what we're trying to do is get differing opinions. By getting differing opinions, we can keep the process more gridlocked, even in a way, but it allows people to have conflict, to actually think both points of view. And by allowing the mayor's office and the city council to be appointing members of these positions, I feel that it was mainly for that reason. for allowing differing people from different parts of the city to choose committee members for these very important committees that make very big decisions for the city of New Franklin. So I think that's what the sponsor's main point of view was on bringing this forward to council tonight. And Mr. Wolf would like to ask time on that for him to come, which I think would be a good idea as well. But that's what I see from it, is just asking. We're just trying to find different people. If you go to the very bottom, all the way towards down Clinton, it is very quiet. The purple martins fly around very serenely, and it's very different than the hustle and bustle up on 619. And that's what we're looking to do, is get people from different areas of the city, to butt heads even, and then see what they think's the point of any of them, their committee selection. So that's what I believe.
All right, hey, I'm sorry.
So yeah, like I was gonna say, like with the Rolodex, Mayor, putting people through that we know, we're trying to get different. We're trying to make it not so streamlined, not so smooth, but to have conflict, which is good. People with differing views. We want the conflict. We want people to think differently than other people. So that would make it less more like, oh, we're on the same team. Oh, they're arguing about it. That's the point, I believe.
No, final thought that I had was, it seems in the past, it's like, here are the 7 names that I would want, and the mayor would do it, and it was either a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Right.
I don't think this, if to go that way, how do we, as the checks and balances, cover or guarantee that, because where is it written, that if we are going to appoint or approve individually? I mean, we can say that, but are we covered to individually approve or deny various members?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I think no matter which one stays and goes into effect, there should be some ground rules set, which would be, there should be a resume. There should be time to look at those people. We didn't get a resume on the charter review, we knew something. And that was a group vote. I think it should be an individual vote. And like Jim said, there should be no, council should not be able to appoint a spouse or a buddy or somebody to one of these committees, if they get the opportunity to have those picks. So I think that no matter how it goes, maybe there should be a consensus of some ground rules on how it plays out.
There are ground rules, like,
Resume.
but I mean, are they
And
allowed to? I mean,
appointments
is
one
that,
at a time, voting on one at a time.
no, I understand, but from a legal standpoint, do we say, well, are ground rules, or does it have to be in writing? You know what I mean?
Well, the presentation of those people can be however we choose it to be, I would think. If we ask them to, okay, I want Mr. Stiles' son out there, that's my appointment. But in order for me to introduce him to council, you gotta fill out a resume. They need to know a little bit about you.
It's similar to how we appointed
Just like
a
the
council member. We looked at resumes, looked at applications, and
Well, I think part of that is us managing that process. Again, that we're not waiting until the last minute, oh, it's December 15th and we got to appoint somebody by the end of the year. That we know about it in October, that these are coming up and that we can start the process, getting the applications.
But my question is, I know the city council, I think it was handled magnificently. I thought it was a great model on how that was taken. But that was our guy, that was our pick, that was this group's pick, he had nothing to do with it, or the office thing.
Well,
Now we have another entity here that's going to possibly, well, currently, let's say if nothing changes, currently, how do we, in writing, say this is how this must be done?
Would that be through council rules?
Well-
No, as part of the charter.
I suppose council could adopt their own rules relative to the criteria that you apply when you're considering the recommendation of the mayor. Okay, so that criteria may consider, you may require,
Application.
yeah, so it could probably be handled that way.
So like in council rules, we could say, planned openings, such as the end of a term, we need to have advertisement. We would want to see for council to consider a candidate.
Right.
We would want to see that advertising has taken place, that applications have been accepted or resumes or whatever. And of course, we have access to those because it's all public record. We have access to that information, the applications, the resumes, whatever. And we, so that we have some assurance that a process was handled prior to the recommendations being presented. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
So it's on us to really
Yes, it
make those
is.
rules.
Okay,
that's what I wanted
It's like Will said, this is an idea, same as the charter review. It's gonna be up to the voters. So it's gonna be up to more than 8 people. It's gonna be up to everybody who comes out and votes for a yes or no. And we'll see how the city looks like.
Well, let's,
I'm sorry.
yeah, please.
Yeah,
I
I'm
almost got you on.
I'm new here, so I'm getting up to speed, but it seems to me that getting all these appointments is probably a Herculean task for the mayor, and at least some of that portion would welcome probably our involvement and that help. And I've heard the word balance of power up here about 5 times while we're doing it. And I just sort of looked through the arrangements here, and I count them up, and I see the mayor is going to end up with 9 appointments, and council with 13. And council also having the right to approve. It seems like we kind of took that needle that was heavily in the mayor's column and pushed it, heavily into the council's term, and I'm not sure that, maybe that needle can fall a little closer to the middle if we're looking for a true balance of power. I don't know if we're open to maybe adjusting some of these numbers a little bit or going forward, but that would be my intention.
Yeah, we could, Mr. Powell can withdraw and then represent another ordinance by the next meeting. We'll tell him what happens, someone will tell him what happens tonight. He can do that as well, and then we have to pass it by the next meeting, by the deadline.
Because that's
Yeah.
probably legal.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
Because we have to
Has to
bring it to
be
the Board of
done
Elections
by
by
the end of next meeting where it doesn't go on the ballot.
So I would, Mr. Wolf, I would suggest that if we're going to take time on this, which makes total sense, that you would ask Mr. Powell to present this to our law director and make sure that the wording on this is correct, so that since we only have 1 meeting left, we're ready to go with it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You continue.
No, go ahead.
Also, say, doesn't the Board of Elections has a process of themselves to see if the language is correct in the structure?
Yeah, I mean, we have to submit it and then
They
approve it.
Yeah, they'll.
But if it's incorrect,
They'll turn it down.
yeah, exactly.
That's what I thought. I was just making sure, because I know that they won't throw anything out there. I know that.
No, they won't do it.
Yeah,
So tell us as far as it's
Yeah.
wrong, they won't
Yeah.
tell us how to do it right.
Just making sure.
So that's where just have to, like the mayor mentioned, that not sure if the resolution is
it's
in proper
satisfying.
form. Make sure that our law director goes over it and gives any
Yeah.
questions.
Thank you.
Whatever.
And hopefully, final comment, 2 things, just for perspective purposes, and we will certainly put this into play no matter, well, in fact, this will be on the November ballot, so, if it's approved at the time that, once the election results are certified, which is usually late November, we probably still have some time, but we're gonna wanna start the process sooner than that. Our terms roll off at the end of the calendar year. If we're going to get into a posting and an advertising and an interview process, we're gonna need to be doing that before the end of November, probably, at least start. And what's good to remember is that normally, absent a resignation, we're really talking about 2 seats on each one of these. We're talking about 1 seat that rolls off and an alternate. So you generally are gonna have 2 for each one of these boards. And I just, I'm gonna say this anyway. It was suggested, a couple of times there's been comments about family members, okay? It's no secret that Carol Adamson was on the Charter Commission, all right? And if she were here, she would be happy to speak and tell anyone that wanted to listen that she was elected to the initial Charter Commission. She was not appointed. She ran and she was approved by the voters. And in subsequent terms, on 5-year terms, she applied and asked to serve again, and was suggested by other mayors and approved by council. And I just say that in fairness to her, because, and really to any spouse, to a brother or a son or whoever, that I don't think that council, and I'm not hearing council say that they would arbitrarily exclude someone for that purpose, but we certainly don't want to take the opportunity to serve away from somebody because they happen to be related to somebody else. So I want to speak to that.
To use your example for Sword Farms, for me, because that was a light bulb for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything to do with those people over there in zoning. How do you balance that? That you have, not that, and I make a wife once, not a wonderful woman. How does it, what is the appearance? Other than you're saying that she was elected in 06 or whatever, okay?
Yeah. All right. Well, I get it. I understand when people would have a question. I guess you'd have to know the woman. You don't tell her what to do. She's no puppet. But that depends on the person, and I suppose that's council's decision when somebody's recommended. If you feel it's inappropriate, you say, well, we're not going to appoint that person. So, but I didn't want, I just want to speak that word in her defense.
Right.
No, sure that.
All right. Is there any final, can we move on?
Please.
Okay. I'm going to move to the second readings. Is that okay? So while we're in the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to read each of these all at one time, and then we can discuss them because they're all related. They all came from the Charter Commission. That's all right. And then we can open it up. All right. Ordinance number 24001, an ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend sections 5.05 of the charter and declaring that this ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage. Ordinance 24002, an ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend section 9.03 of the charter and declaring that the ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage. Ordinance 24003, an ordinance submitting the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend section 10.07 of the charter and declaring that ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage. Ordinance 24004, an ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend sections 4.06 and 8.02 of the charter and declaring that that ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage. And finally, 24005, an ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend sections 5.15 and 7.07 of the charter and declaring that the ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage.
So if I may,
Sure.
I was the one that asked for time on this, and I want to make it clear to everybody, council has no say on the content of any of these, except for the one Councilman Powell recommended. My reason for asking for time the last go around was that board was put together, and because these things council does not have a say in. It goes out to the voters, but that particular board wasn't sworn in. So my issue with it was an administrative issue of whether those members should be sworn in. I had suggested to the mayor that we'll just reconvene them, swear them in, say, yeah, that's still what we want, and we move forward. Since then, we've got a memo from our law director assuring us that those members do not need to be sworn in. So I have no issue at this point. Never had an issue with the content. That's what they were asked to come up with, and that issue of content is going to be on the voters to decide.
Yep, and I think 24003 alleviates that.
One of those actually.
It alleviates that now moving forward, there will be an oath for board and commission members. So I think we're all good. We're right that we have no, we must approve.
We do.
Okay.
And if I may, Mr. Schaefer and I wouldn't say we sparred, but we had a spirited conversation. But I didn't, and I know how you are, and you're good at it. And I try to be the same way. Business is business. I didn't fully understand what Mr. Schaefer's point of view was. I will tell you that I respect what that point of view was, And I feel like this is a much cleaner process, that we did obtain this opinion prior to council going forward. So, I think it was a good point, Mr. Schaefer. I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm confident that we can rely on the opinion from the law director. We anticipated that. I mean, I thought that was a law, but it's good. He did the research and he confirmed it, so there's no reservation in that regard.
So are we prepared to move forward out of committee tonight for this? We're okay?
I'm gonna wait the reading for those ones. We're gonna pass the other ones.
Which one? We've all these?
All the other ones other than the one sponsored by Cal.
Yeah, we've already asked for time on 2406, but then the second reading, we can do tonight, right?
Yeah.
Ask to waive the third.
Yeah, you can wait.
Well, we'll go. Can we waive the third?
Well,
Yeah.
no,
No, we're not doing it.
during the meeting.
Okay.
we ask to waive the
All
third
right,
reading.
got it.
It's usually during the committee meeting.
Okay.
We like to ask if there would be other concerns.
Okay, is everybody okay? All right. And I think this concludes the Vulcan ordinance meeting at 7:09 p.m.
Terrific. Anybody else have anything for committees? We will move to a regular council meeting for Wednesday, June 19th, 2024 at 7:09 p.m. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Cox?
Present.
Mr. Schaefer?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
present.
Mr. Stiles?
Present.
Mr. Wolf?
Present.
Mr. Almond?
Present.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting of May 15th, 2024?
Second. Oh, I'm sorry. I will make a motion.
Okay.
Also moved.
All right.
So Mrs. Jones, you
roll
made the
call.
motion.
I made the motion. I was just getting ready to second it. Sorry, Judge.
No, perfectly fine. Thank you.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox? I'm sorry, Mr. Stiles, you abstained.
You weren't here for the.
Yes.
Ah.
My apologies.
I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting of the special meetings that we had.
We got some extra minutes.
Yeah.
From the special
I didn't
meetings.
include those
I
on
will-
there because I was not part
I
of
will
that.
make a motion to approve those.
Do you have I don't have the dates in front of me of those special meetings.
First one's May 20th.
The first one's May 20th.
Yeah, May 20th, May 22nd, May 24th.
All right, so may I have a motion to accept the minutes of special meeting May 20th?
So
I'll
moved.
make a motion.
Motion,
I'll second.
okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles, you
Abstain.
abstained. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of the special meeting of May 22nd?
Second. I make a motion to accept the minutes from the special meeting of May 22nd.
And I'll second
Roll call, please.
Mr. Schaefer?
it. Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles, you abstained. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes. And may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting of May 24th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting of May 24th.
I will second
Terrific. May I have a roll call for the third time?
Mr. Schaefer?
it. Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles abstains. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the financials for April and May 2024, subject to audit?
I'll make a motion to approve the financials for April and May, subject to audit.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Abstain.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Terrific. We'll now open up for public comment. Anyone like to share anything with us? Please address council, state your name and address, and try to keep it under 4 minutes. Anyone? Thank you. We'll move on to our first Resolution 24R46.
A resolution authorizing New Franklin to apply for an Ohio Department of Natural Resources Ohio Nature Works grant for the construction of playground swings at the New Franklin Sisler Field Complex and declaring an emergency.
This resolution 24R46 was brought before the Community Development Committee, and I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Stiles?
You can vote on this.
This for this first one. I think we'll vote.
Yes. This means yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
And I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 24-R-46.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Move on to resolution 24R47.
A resolution authorizing New Franklin to renew membership in the Public Entities Pool of Ohio, PEP, and to enter into an agreement with Summit Insurance Agency to be the local representative with Burnham and Flower of Ohio as sales and member services provider, with Sedgwick as the administrator, and with PERSO, Public Entity Risk Services of Ohio, as claims and risk control service provider for the purpose of providing liability insurance and property damage coverage for New Franklin and declaring an emergency.
This was brought before the Finance Committee. I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3 on resolution 24-R-47.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 24-R-47.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Perfect. That passes 6-0. Moving on to resolution or ordinance 24006.
An ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend sections 7.04, 7.05, 7.06, and 7.07 of the charter and declaring that this ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage.
I would like to request a time.
Time's been asked for, time's granted. We will go to our second readings and then we'll get to the supplemental. Second reading 24001.
An ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend section 5.05 of the charter and declaring that this ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage.
This ordinance was brought in front of the Laws and Ordinance Committee, and I make a motion, we approve it?
To waive the third.
To waive the third.
Second.
Waive the third reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution or ordinance 24001.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cotts?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Ordinance 24002. 24002.
An ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend section 9.03 of the charter and declaring that this ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage.
I'd like to make a motion that we waive the third reading.
Second.
Is that a question?
Yes, it is.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Almond,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Stiles.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 24002, right?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Almond,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Stiles.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Ordinance 24003.
An ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend section 10.07 of the charter and declaring that this ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the third reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Stiles,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Almond.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to adopt 24-003.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Stiles,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Almond.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Moving on to ordinance 24004.
An ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend sections 4.06 and 8.02 of the charter and declaring that this ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the third reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Stiles,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Almond,
Yes.
Mr. Cox.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 240-04.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Stiles,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Almond,
Yes.
Mr. Cox.
Yes. Ordinance 24005.
An ordinance submitting to the electors of the city of New Franklin a proposal to amend sections 5.15 and 7.07 of the charter and declaring that this ordinance shall be effective immediately upon passage.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the third reading.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Stiles,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Almond,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 24005.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Stiles,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Almond,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Our supplemental reading or agenda is 24R48.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Summit County to share equally the expense of the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA report to be prepared by Arcadis US Incorporated as required for receipt of the $3 million community grant from the 2023 federal fiscal year appropriations and declaring an emergency.
This was brought before the finance committee, and I'd like to make a motion to waive the 24-R-48.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I like this one.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Almond,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Stiles,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
And I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution 24-R-48.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Mr. Almond?
I continue to like this one.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Almond,
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
And that concludes all of our resolutions and ordinances for the evening. We have no third readings or pending legislation. We'll move on to the mayor's report.
Our favorite part?
No, I'm not doing that.
Oh.
You're the one doing that. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, then I
Try
have
to
nothing to
nudge
say.
it in each time.
That's what you're hoping for. Okay, let's see. First of all, we received notice, Summit County Public Health, we're part of the countywide consortium. We have a seat on the board, and they provide a variety of health services, countless, really, to all the municipalities. There's 31 different cities, villages, townships in Summit County. And each pay a proportionate share of the cost of those services, which total out each year to $3,230,000 that Summit County Public Health expends on that, $3.2 million. New Franklin's share for 2025 is $131,235.96. I'm just giving you this for information purposes. It's not something that, it's levy stuff. It's not something that we approve or disapprove, but just for information purposes. And quite frankly, when you think about all that they do, and maybe a meeting or two or three down the road, and we'll ask somebody to come out and share with the public all the different services they provide. We couldn't begin to do this for $131,000. So they do a fabulous job. And I want to keep you advised of that. Secondly, this is the 150th anniversary of the what is now known as the the Akron Summit County Library. Excuse me, let me get rid of this. And they got a fabulous history, and it's been 150 years. January of 1874, City Council passed an ordinance to create the library. In February, they appointed a board of trustees, and their chairman was John R. Buchtel, who then became the president of Buchtel College. This is 1874. They started a public library in Summit County. In 1974, they merged with the Akron Summit County Public Library, and they now they have the main library downtown, 18 branch libraries, 2 bookmobiles, a mobile service van. One of those branches is the Portage Lakes Public Library, which is what a jewel that is for us in our city, under the leadership of branch manager Cheryl Luck. And they are having a gala celebration Saturday, June 29th at the main library. And so in acknowledgement of all that, we have prepared a proclamation that we would like to present to them to join in the celebration of that event, recognize their honor their achievements of the Akron Summit County Library for the past 150 years by declaring Saturday, June 29th, 2024, Akron Summit County Library Day in the city of New Franklin. And I would ask for a motion for that purpose.
I will make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
All right, we'll make sure we get this to the library. They're going to be presenting all of these at that event, and we'll tell you more. Oh, gosh, it's coming up quick. It's the 29th. I'll try to write about it, but take a look, and you go on the public library site, and they really got a pretty nice event, a really nice event planned for that day. So if you can be part of that, please do, and we'll make sure that we are.
What is the time, Paul? I apologize. Did I miss that?
You did not, because I did not tell you, but I will. I'll get something out to council.
I can look it up.
Yeah, I think it's
not
a noon.
problem.
I think it's a daytime event, but I'll get it out to everybody.
Thank you.
It's gonna be something to write about.
Love it.
All right. Let's see. We already have our Citizen of the Month. God bless Larry Hunter. Seriously. On a more serious note, well, that is serious. Labor contracts are up this year. A couple of years ago, we put ourselves into where we lined them all up at the same time for the same year. While it creates more work, we don't run into a situation of having to leapfrog raises. So this is going to be an interesting year for a variety of reasons. And we are meeting next Wednesday with the department heads from each department and with our attorney, Patrick Coven. We engaged him for this. He's a labor attorney. So we're going to meet with each department 9:15, 10 o'clock, 10:45. We start at 9:15, there'll be 45. We've allotted 45 minutes for each one of these. That's next Wednesday. We would like to have at least somebody from the finance committee, if possible, or the chair, the president, whoever, to sit in on those, to get a flavor for what, from management standpoint, what we think the issues are going to be. We'll get some guidance from our attorney in terms of what's happening around the state. There's a really good resource, as Mr. Cook could tell you, that does a comparison of the raises for all the different entities statewide. We cannot have two members, we could not have more than 3 of you, and we cannot have more than 2 of you from the same committee. If we did that, it becomes a public meeting. So the council perhaps can talk among themselves, and if you get a representative or 2 to sit in on that, I think it's going to be helpful as we go forward, because ultimately then, at the end of the process, we'll be coming to council seeking approval for whatever agreement is struck. That'll be here, yes. Yeah.
I can be here.
Okay, all right, good. All right. Couple of fun things out of the Tudor House. Sailing this summer was another big success, I would say. Many of you were there. We had about 1,500 people came in. Canal Fulton Community Band. It was just a beautiful, and the Lord bless us with great weather, but it was just a great event. It's the kind of thing that we love to do. We finished about $1,000 ahead in terms of expenses, which is a beautiful thing. So on we go. This coming Tuesday, June 25th, we have Teddy Robb, who is a Nashville recording artist, happens to be a local guy as well. If you like country, I was trying to think, I guess he is, I always get him wrong. Eric Church and Brad Paisley and those guys, if you like that kind of music, Luke Combs, he's open for Luke Combs. This guy is really, really good. So if you like country, get out there. The gates open at 6:30. There'll be some seating under the tent, but we're also encouraging bring your blankets, bring your lawn chairs. You can bring your cooler. We'll have a barbecue truck there, and come on out and have a great time at the. That kicks off our music nights at the Tudor House. To be followed closely by our old-fashioned 4th of July, which we hold on the 4th of July. Everything's lined up again. We got the barbershop quartet. We're going to have the tug of wars. We're going to have the pie baking contest. We're going to have another great time. That's noon to 4 on the 4th of July. And the last thing, I was thinking about when I listened to Larry Hunter, and he talked about how many mosquitoes these birds were eating. I thought, we're going to run out of mosquitoes. So I was going to propose that we start the Portage Lakes, the PLX Mosquito Association, so we can raise enough mosquitoes. But unfortunately, at the end, I find out they eat scrambled eggs in the morning. So, they either have eggs in the morning or mosquitoes at night. I debated whether to include that last item. I probably should. That's all.
That's all you have. Well, Mr. Mayor, I think that's a great idea. You kind of joke about the mosquito committee. It is important that we do have mosquitoes available for the purple markers. And
you're making it worse, aren't you?
Yeah, because I'd like to have a motion to make Paul Adamson the chairman.
I'll second.
Also, Mr. Adamson brought up about the labor contracts. My thought on that is we have Mr. Schaefer who's going to be attending as part of the finance committee, and I think that should be enough from council. We don't need to be all up in that. The labor attorney is going to be very involved in working through those processes. It's good to have someone there that can kind of listen, understand, and relay that information to us. But I worry that we have too many people there, that it might kind of put a little damper on conversations, so.
And Mr. Cutts, I want to be, this is just the preliminary meeting with our staff. The
Okay.
unions aren't involved in this.
Oh, okay.
This is just this is pre-planning
Thank
as
you.
we go into those negotiations. So it's our department heads, what do we expect, what are we thinking about?
Okay.
That type of thing.
Okay. Cool. Finance report.
Well, we've finally done with the 2023 financial report. It's complete. It's now in the hands of the auditor. So we've started the audit process. We've been putting stuff on their share file, and they have all kinds of things that we have given them already. So we don't know exactly when they're going to be coming in-house, because they usually come for like a week and then they'll come back a few weeks later. So we haven't heard anything about their timeline yet. Right now, we're just sending them things and they're working online doing that, but that'll keep us busy aside from the regular stuff that we have to do. Again, if anyone has any questions about the financials or any financial information, please contact me or come in and see me. Happy to talk to you about it, happy to go over it. I know, especially when people start, fund accounting isn't exactly what they teach in school. So if you need a little instruction on that, I'm happy to. The more you know, the better my job goes. So please stop by if you need any help. And that's all I have.
Perfect, thank you. Do we have any old business?
How's the website working on coming along?
It is coming along. I've had to set it aside for the audit
Yeah, of course.
for a little bit, but I'm hoping in the very near future to start putting some of it up and then gradually adding to it as we go. So it should be, I'll let you know as soon as we get somewhere close to where, before it launches.
I'm excited.
Any other old business? New business?
Wait a minute, I have
Oh,
old business.
sorry.
You just jumped in there. I'm trying. We're having our farmer's market meeting after this meeting tonight, and we have several people that have already applied for it. We're going to be passing out flyers with Mr. Rob on the 25th with the Tudor House.
Oh, good.
And also, we had a person that applied for our cemetery committee also.
She didn't really apply, but she volunteered.
Okay, same, volunteering on fine. So anybody else that's interested in that, they can email any one of us, any one of the council members, because we really need help with that. And with the farmer's market. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, you did a great job.
All right.
Okay. Any other old business? Any new business?
The one thing about the parade, I had a gentleman who brings his army vehicle up, and he's done that for the last 10 or 12 years. And one of the staff members made him take down a military flag, because she said it was political. And it was a military flag. I'm familiar with the flag. It has no political association. Is there a way that we can get a list of what is allowed and what is not allowed for the future ones, so we don't have that kind of problem?
Sure. I wasn't aware.
I wasn't either until he stopped at my shop, and he was going to be at the first meeting in June, which we didn't have. I thought he might show up tonight, but he's not.
And maybe it was an accident.
I'm sure.
I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding of what the flag was.
Right.
Any other new business, Mrs. Jones?
What do you think? Farmer's market? That's still new.
It is, it's
All
going to
right.
be, it's going to be exciting.
It's coming soon.
Look forward to it.
What about recycling?
You know what, recycling, well, I haven't mentioned that in a while, have I? After our last incident with Starwood, we were a little upset with them.
Yeah.
But we're still doing our recycling.
All right. Any other new business? Now it's time for public questions and answers on issues raised at the meeting. Anybody have any questions about issues raised tonight? I don't believe we have an executive session needed. Our next council meeting will be on July 17th, 2024. And
6 o'clock? 6:30.
Oh, we'll go 6 o'clock.
6:15.
I'll stay with 6 o'clock. It seems to work.
Okay.
Um,
I was late.
May I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on adjournment? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Thank you all. We'll see you in a month.